Emptiness isn't a mistake. There are moments in life when everything just feels empty. The things that used to light you up no longer spark anything inside. The goals you chased feel hollow. The plans you made seem pointless. And some mornings you might even ask yourself, why bother? Why keep going? If you've ever felt that way, you're not broken. You're not weak. And you're definitely not alone. Buddhist wisdom offers us a radical reframe. What if this emptiness isn't a sign that something's gone wrong, but rather a quiet invitation, an opening to look inward instead of outward? The Buddha once said, "Just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life." That flicker of emptiness you feel, it might not be the end. It might be your soul gently asking you to pause, to listen, to realign. Because when the outer world starts losing its color, maybe it's time to turn toward the inner world, the part of you that's always been waiting to be heard. So instead of pushing this feeling away, what if you simply sat with it for a moment? Not to judge it, not to fix it, but to ask, what is this silence trying to tell me? In this video, we'll explore that question deeply. Not with forced positivity or motivational hype, but with honest presence, grounded wisdom, and the teachings of the Buddha. Because maybe, just maybe, this feeling of emptiness is the beginning of something real. Let's begin. Redefining emptiness. When life feels meaningless, our first instinct is to resist. We think something must be wrong with us. I shouldn't feel this way. We try to push the feeling down, cover it with distractions, or fix it by chasing new goals. But what if emptiness isn't something to fix? What if it's something to understand? In Buddhism, there's a teaching that often confuses people at first: everything is empty. But this doesn't mean life is pointless or bleak. It means that things don't have a fixed, permanent identity. They are fluid. They change. And within that emptiness, there is space. Space for something new. Space where the ego begins to dissolve and clarity starts to rise. Think about it like this. When a room is cluttered, you can't move. You can't breathe. But when you empty it out even just a little, suddenly there's air. There's light. There's possibility. So if you're feeling empty, try asking, what is this emptiness here to teach me? Maybe it's asking you to slow down, to stop running, to listen to the parts of you that have been whispering in the background for years. Instead of forcing yourself to be positive, just sit. Just breathe. Just be. You don't need to escape the feeling. You need to make space for it. Because very often, the most important awakenings don't come from moments of excitement. They come from quiet invitations like this one. When the old has faded, but the new hasn't yet arrived. And in that quiet, you begin to see more clearly than ever before. The power of small actions. When you feel lost or directionless, your mind will often search for a big answer. What's my purpose? What am I meant to do with my life? But sometimes the most powerful question isn't about your grand mission. It's simply, what's the next small step? There's an old story in Buddhist tradition about a monk who swept the temple courtyard every morning, rain or shine, with no audience, no rush, and no desire for praise. One day, someone asked him, "Why do you sweep, even when no one is watching?" He smiled and replied, "I sweep to sweep. Not to impress. Not to reach enlightenment. Just to be here. Fully present." This story reminds us that meaning doesn't always come from big goals or dramatic breakthroughs. Often, it's rediscovered through the simplicity of daily life. Washing the dishes. Watering a plant. Tidying a corner of your home. Helping someone without expecting anything back. Being kind even when it's hard. These acts might seem small, maybe even insignificant. But they carry a quiet kind of wisdom. A wisdom that grounds us in reality, softens our hearts, and gently pulls us back from despair. Buddhist teaching calls this right action, not because it's grand, but because it's rooted in awareness and care. So if you're in a season where nothing feels meaningful, don't pressure yourself to figure out your entire life. Just choose one action, any action, that brings even a tiny sense of clarity or kindness. Let it be enough. Because in the end, it's not always about doing more. It's about being more present in what you already do. And from that presence, motivation starts to quietly return. Motivation doesn't always come from emotion. Let's be honest, some days you wake up and just don't feel it. No spark. No drive. Just a heavy kind of stillness inside. And if you're like most of us, you might start to wonder, what's wrong with me? Why don't I feel inspired? But here's the truth, one that Buddhist wisdom reminds us of again and again. Motivation doesn't always come from feeling good. It comes from showing up anyway. In the West, we've been taught to chase passion. To wait for the moment of excitement, the emotional high that kicks us into action. But Buddhist teaching gently pulls us in a different direction. It teaches attachment is the root of suffering. When you cling to the idea that life should always feel meaningful, joyful, or inspired, then the moment it doesn't, you feel like a failure. But you're not failing. You're simply moving through a different season. Just as nature has its winters, barren, cold, and quiet, our lives do too. And winter isn't a mistake. It's a necessary pause. You don't need to feel a fire inside every morning. You don't have to love every step of the path. You just have to take one, then another. That's what commitment means. It means you write even when the words don't flow. You meditate even when your mind is loud. You show up not for perfection, but for presence. Real transformation doesn't come from waiting to feel ready. It comes from acting with awareness, especially when you don't. So if you're in a season where life feels dull or heavy, remember, this fog will lift. But until it does, let your strength be your consistency, not your emotion. And that is more powerful than any passing burst of motivation. Action first, emotion will follow. Have you ever told yourself, I'll do it when I feel ready, when I'm in the mood, when inspiration strikes? It sounds reasonable. But here's the quiet truth. If we wait for the perfect feeling, we may wait forever. Many of us think motivation must come first, like an ignition switch before action. But Buddhist wisdom teaches something radically freeing. Don't cling to results. You have the right to your actions, not to the fruit they produce. What does that mean in daily life? It means, write even if it's just for 5 minutes. Sit in silence even if your mind is noisy. Take a short walk even if your heart feels heavy. Make your bed not for anyone else but as an offering to yourself. These aren't chores. They are sacred rituals. You don't have to feel amazing doing them. You just have to begin. And then begin again. Because the feeling we long for, the clarity, the momentum, often comes after we act, not before. This idea has changed my life. There were mornings when I didn't want to show up, tired, unsure, numb. But I lit a candle. Saturday. Wrote a single sentence. And something softened. Small actions build trust, not just in the process, but in yourself. And when you begin trusting yourself again, you create a stable ground for lasting motivation. The kind that doesn't depend on mood, weather, or outcome. So today, don't wait for emotion to lead. Let your intention lead instead. Let your gentle, deliberate action be your message to life. I'm here. I'm choosing to move. Even if I don't feel like it yet. Because feelings come and go. But presence, practice, those are the roots that hold you steady. No one is immune to emptiness. You know, sometimes we look at spiritual teachers, monks, or wise mentors and think, they must have it all figured out. But here's the truth that rarely gets spoken aloud. Even they feel lost. Even they get tired. Even they doubt. Emptiness isn't something reserved for the broken or the unmotivated. It's part of being human. It's part of the path. In Buddhism, the lotus is one of the most sacred symbols. Why? Because it grows not in perfect, crystal clear waters, but in mud. Thick, dark, sticky mud. And yet from that mud, something beautiful and pure emerges. Your current state, the numbness, the confusion, the lack of direction, is not the end of your story. It's a chapter. Maybe even an essential one. When everything feels meaningless, our minds want to rush to fix it, to escape, to get back to normal. But sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to simply stay, to take one more breath, to take one more step, even if it's small, to whisper, "I'm still here." Because continuing, even without clarity, is its own kind of courage. Some days, healing looks like deep meditation. Other days, it looks like just getting out of bed. And that's okay. You are not weak for feeling lost. You are walking the same muddy path that every seeker, every soul, has walked before you. Let the mud be part of your becoming. Let this chapter soften you, not break you. And if all you can do today is keep going, that is enough. Impermanence, no emotion lasts forever. One of the most gentle yet powerful teachings of the Buddha is this: all things are impermanent. Every thought, every emotion, every storm that passes through the heart. That includes this heaviness you might be feeling, this emptiness, this fog. It's not who you are. It's just a visitor passing through. But the mind doesn't always see it that way, does it? When we feel lost, it's easy to say, "I'm broken. I've lost my way. I'm not myself anymore." But what if you paused and changed the story? What if instead of saying, "I am empty," you said, "I'm experiencing a wave of emptiness"? That one shift changes everything. Because suddenly, you're not trapped in the feeling. You're simply witnessing it. Like watching clouds drift across the sky. And here's something to remember. You are the sky. The clouds of grief, confusion, fatigue may come and go. But the sky remains. Always present. Always vast. Always open to the next moment. So next time that familiar wave returns, instead of fighting it, try greeting it gently. I see you. I know you're here. And I also know you will pass. Impermanence is not something to fear. It's the reason why joy returns, why hope resurfaces, why new beginnings are always possible. And maybe, just maybe, this moment of emptiness is preparing you for something new to bloom. Let the clouds pass. The sky is still here. And so are you. Grounding through the body, mindfulness begins with the flesh. When the mind feels too heavy, too scattered, too overwhelmed to make sense of anything, come back to your body. In Buddhist practice, there's a teaching called mindfulness of the body in the body, Kwandan Trongdan. It may sound abstract, but it's actually one of the most practical tools you have. Because while the mind can wander endlessly through stories and fears, the body is always here. Steady. Simple. Alive. So what does this look like? It can be as small as noticing your breath. Inhale. Exhale. Not trying to change it, just feeling it. It can be as humble as placing your hand on your chest and feeling the rise and fall, the warmth of your own presence. Or taking a mindful walk in silence, feeling the ground beneath your feet with every step. Not rushing to get anywhere. Just being where you are. These acts may seem small, even boring. But they are powerful. Because the body is the anchor. When your mind is drifting into the storm, think of it like this. When you're lost in the fog of meaninglessness, your thoughts can take you further and further away. But your body, your breath, your steps, your skin, they bring you home. So when the weight in your chest feels too much, don't try to think your way out of it. Feel your way back in. Back into your breath. Back into your bones. Back into the present moment, where life is still happening. And where healing begins. Self-compassion, tending to yourself like a wounded friend. There's a quiet truth in Buddhist teachings that we often forget. You, yourself, as much as anybody in the entire universe, deserve your love and compassion. But let's be honest, when life feels empty, when your heart is heavy and your spirit numb, the first thing we often do is judge ourselves. We say, "What's wrong with me? Why can't I just snap out of it? Why am I not trying harder? But pause for a moment. What if instead of judging yourself for how you feel, you asked a much gentler question? What do I need right now? Not tomorrow. Not next week. Right now, this moment. Sometimes the answer is simple. A warm cup of tea. A quiet corner to breathe. A few words written in a journal, messy, raw, real. Sometimes it's giving yourself permission to rest. To not be productive. To just be. These aren't signs of weakness. They are acts of spiritual courage. Because being kind to yourself, especially when you feel like you don't deserve it, that's where real transformation begins. Imagine how you would treat a dear friend. If they came to you feeling lost, broken, or numb, would you tell them to get over it? Or would you sit beside them, offer a blanket, and just stay close? You deserve that same care. So today, if the emptiness feels too much, don't try to fix yourself. Don't fight to feel better. Just be with yourself. With softness. With patience. Even the smallest act of self-care, done with love, becomes a sacred ritual. A reminder you're still here. Still worthy. Still unfolding. Letting go of expectations, the trap of chasing inspiration. Let's be honest, how often do we quietly expect our lives to always feel meaningful? To wake up feeling motivated, inspired, ready to take on the world. But here's the truth the Buddha gently reminds us of. All suffering begins with attachment. Tanha, the clinging, the grasping, the insistence that life must feel a certain way. And so, when motivation slips away, when life feels like a blank page instead of a masterpiece, we suffer not because something is wrong, but because we expected it to feel different. We confuse feeling uninspired with being broken. But what if that emptiness isn't a flaw in the system? What if it's part of the natural ebb and flow of being alive? Here's the practice. Let go of needing every moment to be powerful. Let go of needing your purpose to show up on a schedule. Let each moment be exactly what it is, no more, no less. Yes, even the flat, silent ones. The moments that don't sparkle, that don't sing. Those moments are still sacred. And here's the quiet miracle. When you stop chasing meaning, when you stop demanding inspiration to perform on cue, something softer begins to arrive. A natural rhythm. A steady breath. A sense of peace not built on fireworks, but on presence. You don't have to feel good all the time to live a good life. You don't need inspiration to take the next step. You just need to trust that even now, in this very breath, you are exactly where you need to be. Let this moment be enough. Steady practice tending the garden of your mind. The Buddha once said that the mind is like a garden. If we don't tend to it, weeds will grow. And maybe that's what you're feeling right now. Not broken, not lazy, just overgrown. Disconnected, not because you failed, but because you haven't watered the right seeds in a while. See, we often think spiritual growth comes from big revelations. Those lightning moments of clarity. But the truth is, transformation is quiet. It's slow. It's made of small, daily acts that no one sees. Things like sitting down to meditate for 5 minutes, reciting a short prayer, writing down 3 things you're grateful for, or simply breathing deeply before you open your inbox. These aren't grand gestures. They are gentle reminders to return home to yourself. Think of it like gardening. You don't plant a seed and expect fruit tomorrow. You water. You wait. You show up again. And here's the most important part. Don't wait for motivation to strike. That's the mind's old trick. I'll do it when I feel like it. But practice isn't what follows motivation. Practice is what brings motivation back. Each time you return to your breath, each time you pause and choose presence, you're pulling a weed, planting a flower, bringing sunlight back into the corners of your soul. So if you feel disconnected right now, don't make it another reason to criticize yourself. Instead, make it a reminder. It's time to tend the garden again. because even one mindful breath is enough to begin again. Meaning is not a destination, it's a living journey. So often, when life feels hollow, our first impulse is to fix it, to patch it up, to push the emptiness away. But what if, instead of rushing to feel better, we slowed down and simply breathed? What if, in this moment of stillness, you chose not to chase meaning, but to create it quietly? Because the truth is, meaning isn't something you find once and then keep forever. It's not a destination or a finish line. It's a practice, a way of being. It's built slowly, moment by moment, in small, kind actions, in gentle self-awareness, in your willingness to keep showing up even when it's hard. The Buddha never said you need to be perfect. He simply invited us to be present, to return again and again with compassion and courage. And on days when you feel like you're walking through fog, when joy feels far and purpose feels unreachable, remember this: you're not alone. You're not failing. You're simply in a season. And seasons pass. So let this moment be enough. Breathe. Light a candle. Take one small step. And trust that meaning will rise, not all at once, but gently, like the sun through morning mist. If this message brought even a little peace to your heart, consider subscribing, not just to a channel, but to your own inner strength, to this quiet journey we are all walking together.